The front door eased open with a drawn-out creak, the sound that usually lifted my spirits because it meant Sarah was home. But that night, instead of comfort, it froze me in place. Her figure lingered in the muted light from the porch, her outline unsteady, her face half swallowed by shadows. I saw the marks immediately, dark blotches spreading across her cheek and arm, stark against her pale complexion like ink-staining paper. My breath faltered, dread tightening inside my chest as though my ribs were closing in. "Sarah, what happened?" The question slipped from me, barely audible, though part of me already dreaded the response. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes shifted, avoiding mine, her lips twitching as though words were on the edge of escaping, but she swallowed them back. The silence between us was oppressive, more telling than anything she could have said. I moved closer, reaching out instinctively, only for her to recoil, tugging her sleeve down as though she could erase what I'd seen. "It's nothing," she said, her voice brittle, fragile enough to splinter. But it wasn't nothing. It was etched into the bruises on her skin, into the way she slouched forward as though burdened by an invisible weight. I ushered her inside, though the familiar warmth of the living room now felt alien. The space where we'd once shared laughter over movies suddenly seemed foreign, almost hostile. "Please," I urged, my voice cracking under the strain. "Tell me who did this to you." Her gaze flickered with something unreadable, shame, fear, maybe both, before dropping to her hands, fingers twisting her wedding ring like it was scorching her skin. "It was an accident," she said finally. "At work." I tripped, hit the desk. Her explanation was hollow, lifeless, and I wanted desperately to believe her. But the bruises weren't scattered or random. They were patterned, deliberate, unmistakably the imprint of hands. My chest churned with anger, but also helplessness. "Don't lie to me," I whispered, softer than I meant. I couldn't bring myself to press her too hard, even as I ached to know. "You're hurt. Let me help you." Tears gathered in her eyes, glistening before spilling over, and the sight of them cracked something inside me. My Sarah, vivid, strong, alive, was crumbling, and her silence screamed louder than words. When I touched her arm again, she didn't retreat, but the void between us widened in a way I could feel deep in my bones. This wasn't about the bruises alone. Something darker lingered beneath. By morning, her image haunted me, the marks, her evasive answers, the way she seemed like a stranger in her own skin. Against her protests, I drove her to work, determined to see the place for myself. The building loomed, all sharp lines of steel and glass, cold and distant compared to our cluttered, warm home. As she disappeared into its polished facade, I sat gripping the wheel, my hands shaking. A storm was brewing, though I couldn't yet see its shape. My phone buzzed, and when I looked, my pulse nearly stopped. A message from an unknown number. A photo of Sarah, laughing, leaning too close to a man I knew all too well, her boss, Derek. Beneath it, a message that hit like a physical blow. "I hit her, loser, and she liked it." The words clawed at me, filling my head with fire. Derek, the smug, charismatic man I'd always distrusted. I'd noticed the way he hovered near her at work events, how his hand lingered too long on her back. But I had trusted her. I had trusted us. Now that trust fractured, collapsing into jagged shards. Her late nights, her excuses, her strained smiles, it all came crashing into focus. I couldn't confront her, not yet. The wound was too raw. Instead, I called someone who could dig where I couldn't, my old friend Mike, who had a talent for uncovering buried truths. "Look into Derek," I told him, my voice steadier than I felt. He didn't question me. He simply promised results. That evening, when Sarah returned, the bruises were darker, spreading like storm clouds across her skin. I wanted to demand answers, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I watched her drift through the house like a ghost. She answered quickly, evasively, then escaped to the shower, the rushing water drowning out the questions clawing at my chest. The next day, Mike called. His voice carried the weight of bad news. He had found everything: emails, texts, receipts. Months of deceit. Sarah and Derek, entwined not only in secrecy but in something far more intimate. The evidence was undeniable: flirty exchanges, photos of them together, her laughter captured in stolen moments. Each revelation was another blade twisting inside me. That night, when she came home, I laid the evidence across the kitchen table like exhibits in a courtroom. Her eyes widened, her breath hitched. "James, I can explain," she began, but her voice quivered, and I already knew no explanation could undo what I'd seen. "Explain what?" I said, my words trembling with rage and heartbreak. "That you slept with him? That he hurt you and you let him? That you lied to me every single day?" Her tears streamed, but they couldn't soften me. Not this time. She confessed through sobs. It started with flirting, but Derek threatened her job, manipulated her until she felt trapped. I wanted to believe her, to see her as a victim, but the evidence screamed otherwise. She hadn't trusted me enough to come to me. "You chose him," I said, my voice raw. "Not me. Him." She reached for me, but I stepped back. Her whispered apologies hung between us, fragile and meaningless. I left, unable to breathe in that house anymore. Mike unearthed more, complaints against Derek buried by his influence, a pattern of exploitation. Armed with evidence, I handed it to a lawyer friend who knew how to dismantle men like him. Derek's downfall came swiftly. Lawsuits, investigations, his reputation shredded. But it didn't bring me peace. Sarah and I were still shattered. She begged for counseling, for a chance to mend us, but every glance at her dragged me back to the bruises, the texts, the betrayal. I left, moving into a silent apartment where memories echoed louder than any noise. She appeared at my door weeks later, eyes red, voice trembling. She was in therapy, she said. She was trying. She wanted me to see her beyond the mistakes. I wanted to. I missed her. But I couldn't forget. "I see you," I told her, my throat tight. "But I also see what you did. And I can't unsee it." She nodded, tears falling silently, and walked away. I stood there alone, the weight of love turned to ash pressing down on me. Derek paid for his sins, but the true cost was mine, for believing in a love that wasn't what I thought it was. Her bruises would fade, but the wounds carved into me might never close.